Over 100 kilometers in the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo now from ASICS. It's a shoe that they launched earlier in the year, and it was quite the change from the previous version of the shoe. Though when you look at it, the shoe's changed quite drastically over the last 4. Metaspeed Sky original here, this was actually called the Tokyo as well. Flight foam turbo in the midsole. Certainly feels a little bit denser than I remember. Amazingly still smells like garden centre too. Got a bit more stack in the newer version of the shoe. Moving on to the Metaspeed Sky Plus now. This one was really cooking, really enjoyed this shoe. I think I used it to great effect over the 10k distance, in fact, on a couple of races. Always felt the flight foam turbo material was very responsive, but perhaps not the softest stuff out there. Though for me at 10k it was an absolute banger. Achieved some great results in this one. I think it was down to that slightly wider sort of mid to forefoot area. And it still smells like garden centre. Fast forward to the Metaspeed Sky Paris that was released last year. The shoe again was a very lightweight option, but this time they'd switched up the foam. Flight foam turbo plus this time round. Super lightweight upper, very minimal outsole rubber as well. Softer, lighter, bouncier, a little bit more energy return to it, but still responsive. It had that DNA that we had in the last 2 versions of the Metaspeed. It kind of had the perfect position within that triangle of like softness, stability and energy return. 3 factors that you really want in a great running shoe. So let's get up to date now. The Metaspeed Sky Tokyo now that was released earlier this year. After reaching 100 kilometers of testing in this one, I can tell you that the position within that triangle is slightly different now. The flight foam leap material that makes up the majority of the midsole here is much softer than before. You've still got a slither of the flight foam turbo plus on top of that midsole. The difference here really though is that flight foam leap stuff. It is much softer, it's squashy, it's compressive. It's a shoe that really feels like quite a different beast now to what we started off with. I mean, if the Metaspeed Sky Paris worked for you, it was nimble, propulsive, yet had enough energy return, then this shoe might not actually be the one you need. The softness now in that midsole does mean that the heel stability is certainly quite different. It's still a very narrow shoe, but Flight Foam Leap is a very different animal. I always found that the plate was a bit more noticeable in the Paris version of the shoe, whereas here, due to the softness, it doesn't feel perhaps as responsive as before. I don't think I can recall a super shoe model that's changed so drastically between the 2 versions. I think for me now this is very much a dedicated marathon shoe for most people, where you want a little bit more of that softness across the midsole. I think the emphasis here is placed on a softer, slightly more forgiving nature than within the Metaspeed Sky Paris. The Flight Foam Leap formula that we've got here that's closer to the floor is more along the lines of Incredi-Run that was featured in the Endorphin Elite 2. I mean, they do suggest there's more energy return in this foam, but for me it just feels quite a bit softer. Perhaps I'm just too light to get enough out of it or something. I think for lighter runners it almost feels like the Paris is a better shoe. I think the narrow nature of these models mean that if you've got a wider foot, it's just not going to work all that well for you. I think the Alphafly 3 perhaps is a better option there. It's just a bit more consistent across the footbed. As with the Paris, I find the Tokyo to be quite generous really in the toe box and in the upper. I keep finding myself cinching the laces down and pulling in that upper material, which does generate some bunching around here in the toe box. I think from an arch and toe box perspective, it just might not be the best for those wider footed runners. I think due to the softness of the midsole, the lacing's a bit harder to dial in this time around. Now, let me explain. You can lace it up as best as you can, but ultimately, due to the compressive feeling of the foam, your foot sinks into the midsole and you get this odd feeling like around the heel, like it's loose, but it isn't really. And step after step, that just doesn't feel ideal, and it kind of gets into your head a little bit. It also influences the toe-off feel of the shoe. It just doesn't feel quite as aggressive on the toe-off. Durability-wise, the rubber's smoothed off as it has done in the last version of the shoe. Although, in fairness, I'm quite impressed as to how Flight Foam Leap has held up so far. It's pretty good. There's a little bit of abrasion here back in the heel and up here in the forefoot area. But aside of that and one tear on the other shoe, which I've managed to repair, I mean, this is very soft foam. I think the longevity and durability of the shoe's pretty decent. I can't say I feel the plate here as much as in the previous version of the shoe. That just felt a bit more bouncy almost. This is soft and it's compressive, yes, but I feel whereas that shoe was great across 5k through to marathon, you know, those common distances, this time the shoe is very much positioned for that half or full marathon effort. Is this perhaps a response to the Adios Pro 4 from Adidas, which got much softer between the 3 and the 4? A response to the Endorphin Elite 2, which got much softer than the V1. I mean, that was quite pronounced. It wasn't even close. Nike are the only brand perhaps going in the opposite direction, where they've taken the Vaporfly 4 down in terms of midsole stack. Perhaps even Puma as well, who have kept with that responsive feel that they had in the Fast R2, refined and sculpted the foam and cut back on the weight a little bit in the upper to create what a lot of people say is the best running shoe in the world right now. It's certainly the hardest one to buy anyway. So there you go. There's my take on the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. After 100 kilometers, what have your findings been on this one? Is it the same as the last one, or do you feel it's a bit of a downgrade? Is it living up to the previous version, or have other super shoes caught your eye? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Quick musical interlude for you. I always call him the healer, Neil Young. Go and listen to Mirrorball, which was Neil Young recording a really quick album with Pearl Jam. Throw Your Hatred Down is one of my favourites here. It's just the Les Paul and the Deluxe protest songs pretty much all the way through. It's great stuff. No matter what you think of Neil Young, got to have somebody speaking out about some of the things that are going on right now. And when you consider this was 30 years ago, it still feels just as immediate and required, I suppose, as it is now. The fragility of the track Fallen Angel, which closes the album, is really beautiful as well. You can imagine Neil just sat there in the studio playing the harmonium. There's very little between you and him with the song. It's just right there in front of you. Go and check it out. Fantastic album. You need to crank this one up though to get the best out of it. Mirrorball from Neil Young and Pearl Jam. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hit that subscribe button if you're yet to do so, because lots of you haven't. Also give this video a thumbs up, like, and drop us a comment for the algorithm. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you